All new at 10, scary images outside the home of a professional wrestler, Liv Morgan. A man with a rifle trying to get inside. This is just wild. Fortunately, she was not home at
This is wild. Since when a newscaster said that? Okay, that's new.
the time. Investigators say that rifle was actually an air gun. Shawn Chan was arrested last month. He's now facing charges in Pasco County. Fox 35's Hannah McKenzie's live outside the WWE Performance Center. Hannah, the suspect flew all the way from Canada to Orlando and then drove to her home.
All the way from Canada. That's crazy. They came all the way from Canada on a flight and then drove to Tampa. Crazy.
Marley said that's exactly right. And according to federal documents, he made the trip on the very same day he received his passport. When he arrived at MCO, he told agents at U.S. Customs that he was staying here at the WWE training facility, which isn't even an option. Backpack and an attempted break-in. Pasco County Sheriff's deputies say this, the 41-year-old showing up to WWE superstar Liv Morgan's Pasco County home on May 31st. Her surveillance cameras caught him circling the house twice. The BB gun isn't even Chan.
How did he get this, first of all? He must have purchased it in Florida. No way they're allowing him to carry it in the plane, right? I don't think we let one go after all these years.
Deputies say it was on Morgan's front porch. According to documents, Chan tried to get into the home and even appeared to look for a spare key under the doormat. He stayed there for more than 2 hours, leaving behind a handwritten note. "I'm the one who looks like a stalker. Thanks to all of you." There is a pattern to stalking behavior, making a suspect's moves somewhat predictable.
The first stage is fantasy, second stage is planning, third stage is the approach, and then the fourth one is fixation. And that's where it starts to escalate, and that's when a person can be in danger.
Home, as there's no telling what was inside that backpack.
Boy, she really dodged a bullet. That was really quite scary.
3 days later, Chan was arrested on June 3rd here at the Performance Center by Orange County deputies. He'd shown up to an event and security recognized his face. Chan is now charged with burglary. A federal indictment involving the FBI shows he's
Yo, NXT wrestlers probably tackled him down too. When they saw him, they probably had a suspect online. And they like, just tackle this guy. Tackle him down right now. Tackle him down. Anyway.
Also facing a charge for interstate stalking. When Chan was taken into custody, deputies also found 2 vials of liquid with Chinese writing on him. When asked what it was, he allegedly told deputies they were both medicine, meant to treat injuries, one of which was supposed to stop bleeding. Live in Orange County, Hannah McKenzie, Fox 35 News.
This was a year ago, and he's been in federal custody for 1 year. He left a note on the porch. He flew pretty much across the country. He flew across believing she was his girlfriend. He went from all the way out from Ontario all the way to Orlando, Florida. Now today, in Florida gave the verdict in the Liv Morgan stalking case, and it's not the one most people expected, unfortunately. So without further ado, welcome to the Tea Drop. Today, there's no smack talk. We're just going to go through this straight information from what we got from the latest report, verdicts, and what it actually means. If you're new here, this is a follow-up video to previous videos we've done in the past. I covered the original timeline a couple months ago, and I'll drop the video on screen and in the description so you can get the full backstory before you proceed with this video. Quick recap for anyone who's missed it. Late May 2025, Shawn Chan, a 42-year-old Canadian national, flies into Orlando, and here's a detail that stops probably most people cold. The day he flew was the same day his passport was issued. He got the document and got on the plane. He told customs he'd be staying at the WWE Performance Center, a training facility with absolutely no housing. There's no housing in the Performance Center. It's just like a big old gym. Days later, he's at Liv Morgan's home in Florida. Surveillance catches him circling the property, searching for a key and trying the front door. He waits there for over 2 hours. And she's obviously not home, and before he leaves her a note. Now, when it comes to that note, from what I got from the records, that note, it was part of the court record. In it, he writes, and I'm quoting to the best of my abilities when it comes to the filing, he writes, "It's me, Shawn, the guy you hang out with online. So who's the stalker, huh?" He left his real name, his Canadian address, and his phone number. He was indicted in late June of last year, 2025, and he's been held there ever since. Denied release more than once. He never made bond, which is crazy. And here's the part that I need you to understand, because it's why today's verdict went the way it did. This was never going to be a simple guilty or not guilty verdict. Now, as I said before anyone says I'm guessing, this is on the federal court docket, case number 825 CC-CR 0311 MSTGW of the Middle District of Florida, Tampa Division. Now, Judge Mary S. Scriven was the one presiding, and we only have one page of this. If I can find the full docs, I will, but this is coming from Fightful, just in case anyone wants to know. That's the case number itself. This isn't no rumors anymore. We got all the information we can from these websites. If I can ever get it in the future, I will definitely share with you the court docs, and maybe we go over it in a future stream. Now, here's why this trial lasted, if you can see, barely 34 minutes. Look at that. This case lasted 34 minutes. No dramatic courtroom showdown at all. It was, I guess, it's what they call a stipulated facts bench trial. Both the prosecution and the defense agreed on the facts ahead of time, and Chan waived his right to a jury, so there's nothing left to argue, honestly. The charge was interstate domestic violence. Legally, that requires three things: that he traveled across state or national lines, that he did it with intent to harass or intimidate, and that it caused reasonable fear or substantial emotional distress. The facts on these points weren't in dispute. The only real question for Judge Scriven was his state of mind, and the ruling, not guilty by reason of insanity. That was the ruling. Not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, let me be clear about what that means. Not guilty by reason of insanity does not mean he didn't do it, and it does not mean he walks free. It means the court accepted that he could not appreciate the wrongfulness of his actions because of the severity of his mental illness. Now, two separate psychologists reached the same conclusion independently. That's a high bar, and they cleared it, which is okay. Okay, so we have two separate psychologists that led to the same conclusion, which to them, it pretty much means, yeah, the insanity plea makes sense. If they had a disagreement, then it would have gone further somewhere. Now, I want to read part of what the psychologists actually submitted, because it's important you hear it in their words and not mine. They wrote, and this was from the articles, that Chan developed ideas for characters and storylines that were later adopted by professional wrestlers, and that he believed he was owed recognition and financial compensation for them. He believed a well-known wrestler was his significant other. He described traveling to Florida to reach senior wrestling figures through her. Now, he also said that he left a letter at her doorstep, slept on the porch, and tried to enter the home after hearing noises because in his mind, he was checking on her safety, even though the news article from the beginning of this video says differently. He also held beliefs about a global conspiracy involving weapons and terrorism, and described entertainment figures as fighting against it. To him at the time, all of this was simply facts for him. Now, the diagnosis, like I said, or the diagnosis from the psychologist stated that delusional disorder with delusion of grandeur, paranoia, and erotomania. So to simplify that means that the delusional belief that another person is in love with you. He told all his clinics that he's heard the voice of God since his early 20s and that he still hears it. He never been treated for any of this. He's heard all this and he never went for treatment. until he got arrested. Now, the documents say he hadn't seen a doctor in more than 20 years, and here's, unfortunately, the tragic part about all this. They also found him otherwise intelligent. Regardless of all these things that they noticed and they caught about him, they still saw him as he had some intelligence. So before the symptoms took over, he also said he worked 10 years as a computer technician. So again, these two separate psychologists landed on the same conclusion, that he was never treated and he hasn't been in a doctor for 20 years. Now, as always, if you're enjoying the breakdowns like this, where I actually go through this, and maybe in the future I'll find the court record for this instead of just taking into account what is said through news articles, we can go through that in a future video. But in order to do that, as always, hit the like and subscribe. Generally helps the channel and it'll help us grow and be able to do more content like this. Now, let's talk about what happens to him next. So what happens now? So if he's not guilty, does he go home? Well, no. The judge directed the U.S. Marshal Service to coordinate with ICE first. Chan is a Canadian national, like we said, so he's going to have to be first released into ICE custody, not onto the street. Court records don't spell out every next step that's reported on these articles, but standard practice, you would assume when it comes to dealing with these type of international situations, it means ICE has to be involved. They hold him while they do the process to remove him from the country, and from there we'll see how it plays out. The likely outcome is obviously he's going to be deported back to Canada. And for context, this verdict lands right in the middle of a much bigger conversation about talent safety. The same conversation that blew up around WrestleMania this year, with multiple wrestlers speaking out about fans crossing the line. I covered that whole wave in a few of my last videos, and I will, as always, put the link below if you guys want to take a further look. Now, here's where I land on this. Two things can be true at the same time when it comes to this situation. One is that Shawn Chan is genuinely mentally ill man who never got help. And the system that finally caught him is the same system that could have caught him decades later in finding out about his mental health. Unfortunately, that didn't happen to him. And because of it, there's no satisfaction in that situation. It's just all unfortunate. Now, the other thing is, none of that changes what Liv Morgan had to live through. A stranger crossed a border, sat on her porch for hours, slept there, and tried her front door. She didn't get to file that under thoughts and prayers. She had to keep wrestling, keep cutting promos, keep doing her normal day-to-day while dealing with this situation and finding out the true source of everything. She had to deal with this for about a year now. And now, as of today, it's all been resolved. Now, with that in the back of her head for a full year while this moved through the courts, obviously it can get to her. And hopefully it didn't mess with her mind that much and she was able to move on with her life. But, this is a situation she had to deal with for a year. Now, as the verdict closes a case file, it doesn't close what that does to a person. So when the next story like this comes out, and knowing us, it most likely will, I don't want the reactions to be, wow, that's crazy, even though that's usually going to be our knee-jerk reaction first. I want it to be the community shutting it down before it ever gets near an escalated situation. So if you guys see weird situations and cons or stuff like that, hopefully wrestlers are protected. And I don't mean the fans jump in and save them, but tell security if you see something weird happening in a con, for example, or in any event. I'm sure hopefully a wrestler would do the same for you as a fan. So it's us all working together as a wrestling community, I guess. So that's the verdict. And those are the information that was presented in court and laid out and in the article that we've received all today. So anyway, let me know, drop your thoughts in the comments. Where do you think the line sits between mental illness and accountability on something like this? And as always, if the tea hit right, hit the like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.